Today's launch of Atlantis will mark a historic milestone in U.S. spaceflight endeavors. The primary objective of this mission is to dock for the first time with Russia's Mir Space Station. This is also the 100th U.S. human space launch, dating back to Alan Shepard's first historic 15-minute suborbital flight 34 years ago. Also, this will be the first time 10 individuals will fly aboard the shuttle during a single flight. And we are seeing live video or live TV coverage of our 7 ascent astronauts who will be flying aboard Atlantis today. Of course, we'll be dropping off the 2 cosmonauts and returning with 2 other cosmonauts and astronaut Norm Thagard on the space station. We are looking at mission specialist Greg Harbaugh, who is on his 3rd flight today. He is mission specialist number 2, and mission specialist number 1 is Ellen Baker. She also is on her 3rd flight, and she is the payload commander for STS-71. The mission commander, flight commander, is former chief of the astronaut office, Commander Robert Gibson, on his 5th flight. One of our 2 cosmonauts that will be flying today is Anatoly Solovyev on his 4th flight into space, his first aboard the shuttle. He is the Mir 19 commander. And his fellow cosmonaut Nikolai Budarin on his 1st flight into space, and our own pilot Charles Precourt, who is on his 2nd flight into space today. Following their lunch, the crew will be given a briefing on today's weather conditions, which at KSC as well as at the various contingency landing sites around the globe. And then they'll put on their flight suits and make preparations to depart their crew quarters for the launch pad. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. And we have live TV of our 7 crew members who will fly aboard Atlantis today, beginning with Commander Robert Gibson, who will be on his 5th space shuttle flight. He is the former chief of the astronaut office, just prior to taking this command position for this most significant flight, STS-71, which will dock for the first time with the Russian Mir Space Station. Gibson is being joined by his pilot and his mission specialists, as well as the 2 cosmonauts who will fly aboard Atlantis today. His pilot's name is Charles Precourt, and of course he is the 2nd in command aboard the shuttle, and this is his 2nd flight into space today. They are being joined by mission specialists Ellen Baker. She is on her 3rd flight, and she is the payload commander for STS-71. She has prime responsibility for the space lab that is situated in Atlantis Payload Bay. This looks like our mission specialist Greg Harbaugh, and it's difficult to distinguish them sometimes in their helmets and suit, but he is responsible for the orbiter docking system, which is also in Atlantis Payload Bay. Next we have one of our 2 cosmonauts who will be flying on board today. This is Nikolai Budarin, who is on his 1st space flight. He will serve as the flight engineer for the Mir 19 crew, and they plan to stay on the Russian space station for several months once we launch and deliver them to that space station. Mission specialist Bonnie Dunbar is preparing for her 4th flight. She trained in Star City in Russia as the backup to astronaut Dr. Norm Thagard, who is currently aboard Mir, and she would have been aboard the Mir Space Station at this time if there had been any reason to not permit Dr. Thagard to fly. Of course, he has been on board for the past 3 months, and now she's going to go and greet him and assist in the process to bring him back. Our second cosmonaut who will be flying aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis today is Anatoly Solovyev. He is on his 4th flight into space, this of course being his first Space Shuttle launch. And he is the commander for the Mir 19 crew. The Mir 19 crew, of course, consisting of himself and Budarin. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, and we have live pictures of our 7-person crew who are going to be flying today aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis. And we have our first look today of Hugh Gibson as he is walking out with the rest of his crew. Coming with him is the commander of the Mir 19 crew. Commander Solovyev, as well as the other members of the crew, pilot Charles Precourt, mission specialist Ellen Baker, Greg Harbaugh, Bonnie Dunbar, and cosmonaut Nikolai Budarin. All are in the process now of making their entry into the Astrovan, where they will be driven on about a 25-minute trip out to launch pad 39A.
SRO, NTD 212.
NTD SRO, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Verify ready to resume the count and go for launch, please.
SROs go. You have a range clear to launch.
Copy. Launch director, NTD 212.
Launch director, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Your launch team is ready to proceed. Step 1027.
I copy. I'll be on my pole at this time. This is launch director on 212, coming around for a go for launch. Payload director, go. Engineering director, GM engineering is go. S&MA director.
S&MA is go.
And range weather. Roger, sir. We have no constraints to launch. I copy. And ops manager, launch director, class to proceed.
And Jim, the MMT is working. No issues. You're cleared to launch.
I copy. NTD launch director, stand by a second while I say a message to Atlantis. This is launch director. Well, Hoot, the vehicle is ready. The weather has finally come in there for us. And so you guys have a good mission. And we'll see you back here in about a week plus a few days.
Jim, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to work with you. We are more than ready, and maybe it's going to feel twice as good to get off today. Thanks for all the great work and the great support.
And NTD launch director, you have a class to proceed to launch.
Okay, I copy. Thank you. Yeah, let's just go for auto sequence start.
And we have a go for auto sequence start. Atlantis onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 20. 15. 12.
10.
T-minus 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. We have 3 main engines up and running. 2. 1. And liftoff of the Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission that will herald a new day of international cooperation in space.
Houston now controlling.
Houston
Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Atlantis is completing a roll maneuver as the vehicle turns into a heads-down position, on course for a 161 nautical mile orbit and rendezvous with Space Station Mir. Atlantis' three main engines are throttling down now at 68% of rated thrust as the vehicle passes through the area of maximum dynamic pressure. Approaching 1 minute into the flight, the orbiter is downrange from the launch site 3 nautical miles, altitude already up to 40,000 feet.
Atlantis, Houston, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
3 liquid-fueled engines are back at full throttle of 104%. The vehicle's altitude is approaching 70,000 feet downrange from the launch site, 10 nautical miles. Atlantis is already traveling 2,000 miles per hour as the vehicle passes through 1.5 minutes into the flight. The next event is burnout and separation of the twin solid rocket boosters at about the 2-minute 4-second mark of the flight. SRB separation is confirmed aboard the orbiter. Atlantis is downrange from the launch site 32 nautical miles. Altitude is 170,000 feet. Traveling 4,400 feet per second, or about 3,000 miles per hour.
Houston, performance nominal.
We copy. Performance is nominal, Kurt. Houston, we show MECO on speed.
Atlantis, Houston, we show a nominal MECO, ohms 1 not required.
We copy. No ohms 1.
We now again have live television from the cargo bay of the spacecraft. This from a camera that's in the forward corner looking at the front of the Space Lab module mounted at the far end of the cargo bay of the shuttle. This is Mission Control Houston. This live television from Atlantis shows the docking module located in the forward portion of the cargo bay of the shuttle.
Houston, Atlantis, out to the ODS whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, that all went very well according to the procedure and without any difficulty. I have removed and stowed the 3 identified caps at the fore and aft sections of the booster fan and at the aft end of the mixing box forward of the ODS. I verified good airflow coming out the top of the outlet there around the top of the halo and the external airlock on top of the ODS, in other words. And the payload isolation valve was closed. It is open, and I think that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, but I think we've got a good configuration.